So just like the Biden administration, after a promising start, it's all gone pear-shaped for PSG with M&M, which if you do have severe learning difficulties stands for Messi, Neymar and Mbappe. But just like I did for Chelsea and Arsenal, which will be linked in the description, and I will be doing for other clubs, comment below who you want to see. I'll be looking at who PSG should sign this summer. But before I get into that, for cheap good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfever.com. I've bought a number of different jerseys from Jersey Fever. My favourite has to be my Manchester United 2003-2004 shirt with Ronaldo on the back. They've also got PSG shirts if you are a PSG fan, and they've also got different tracksuits from clubs such as PSG, and they've recently brought out the MLS 2022 season shirts. My favourite has to be either the LA Galaxy shirt or the pink Inter Miami shirt. So if you do like any of these, click the link in the description and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL at checkout to get 5% off. So let's start off. I'm getting rid of Messi, Neymar and Mbappe. Now I would like to keep Mbappe as Kanye would like to keep Kim. However, a man named Skeet is in the picture, so rather than abusing him publicly on Instagram, I'm just going to have to accept defeat in this race. Now we are left with Messi and Neymar, who individually are still world-class players, I would say. Well, actually I don't even think Neymar is, but I'll go into more detail in a future video. But mainly with both aging, unable to excel in an aggressive pressing system, and being on around £1 million per week before tax, I think it's better to shuttle them out the door, allow them to leave without transfer fees and hope another club picks up the bill. With those three gone, that would allow PSG to free up around €2.8 million per week in gross wages, around €150 million per year with bonuses and things like that. Just to put that into perspective, if you replace those three players with players on say 300,000 per week, the same amount as players like Marquinhos and Verratti, that would be around €15 million per year each, around €50 million for all three when everything is factored in, which would save PSG around €100 million on their yearly wage bill. So with those three out of the door, let's rebuild PSG. Now we do need a manager, and the manager needs to be able to build a squad in the next 2 to 3 years to win the Champions League. So he needs to be tactically astute, particularly in big games, which may require them to be tactically adaptable, whilst also being a good man manager as well. And the man for the job has to be Zinedine Zidane. Now PSG do have some players on the fringes who need to be gotten off the wage bill as well, and they are Sergio Ramos, Ander Herrera, Lavin Kurzawa, Thilo Kehrer and Julian Draxler. Now whilst I think Thilo Kehrer and Julian Draxler could bring in around £10 million each, the other three, I think, because of their age, just getting them off the wage bill would be good enough, and so allowing Ramos, Herrera and Kurzawa to leave on frees or on a loan would be my plan. And so with all of those outgoings, that's around €200 million per year off the wage bill and around £20 million coming in from transfer fees. So where do PSG need to improve? So Donnarumma and Navas are the two keepers. We've got Hakimi and Mendes, who will be signed permanently in the summer for around £35 million. As the starting fullbacks, with Bernat as backup on the left and Colin Dagba, the backup right back, which I think could also be improved, as if Hakimi has a long-term injury, that would leave PSG vulnerable in that area. At centre-back, Marquinhos and Kimpembe would be the starters, but I do think there's a world-class centre-back on the market who PSG could get, and so in a back four, Kimpembe would be the alternative centre-back alongside Abdou Diallo. Zidane usually likes to use more of a defensive, industrious central midfielder, and I think I have the perfect ball winner to bring in, and partner Verratti and another world-class central midfielder who I will be bringing in. Danilo Pereira and Idrissa Gueye would be two alternative ball winners, with Danilo being also useful as he is versatile enough to play as a right-sided centre-back in a back three if needed as well. Wijnaldum would be a good option as a box-to-box midfielder ahead of the ball winner, and he is on big wages, €330,000 per week, so I don't think PSG will be able to shift him even if they wanted to, so it's probably better to keep him around than subsidise his wages elsewhere. Paredes would also be the deeper line creator backup to Verratti. PSG's front line would need 3 new starters because Messi, Neymar and Mbappe would be departing, but I'd keep Icardi as the alternative centre forward, recall Sarabia and re-sign Di Maria to another 1-year contract as well. So the starting positions that I'm going to be looking for are a centre-back, a balling central midfielder, an advanced central midfielder, a right and left sided attacker and a centre forward, with a backup right back needed as well. So let's start off with the backup right back and get that out of the way, and the player I would look to bring in would be Juan Cuadrado from Juventus, who is 33-34 in May and would be available on a free because his contract is up at the end of the season, and so I think a 1-year deal as a backup to Hakimi would be a good deal for PSG. He's more than capable of fulfilling the attacking responsibilities down the right in Hakimi's place, as when compared against every other fullback in Europe's top 5 leagues over the past 365 days, Cuadrado ranks in the 90th percentile or higher for expected assists, dribbles completed, progressive passes and carries, showing his offensive ability. And even though he isn't as good as Hakimi is defensively, he's certainly good enough to fill in. He'd provide versatility as well, able to play as a right back in a back three, a wing back in a back five, or as a right-sided midfielder ahead of Hakimi as well, so would be the perfect utility player for Zidane. The next position is centre-back, and whilst PSG aren't exactly weak in this area, with Marquinhos and Kimpembe both top-level centre-backs, I think the fact that Antonio Rudiger will be available on a free at the end of the season is an opportunity that PSG can't pass up. PSG's aim is of course to win the Champions League, and when you get to the latter stages of the competition, it's all about fine margins. One mistake or lapse in concentration can cost you the tournament, and so it's essential to get the best centre-backs possible. And I think Rudiger is not only better than both Marquinhos and Kimpembe, being a world-class centre-back, but he's also the perfect modern-day centre-back as well. He has the pace to play in a high defensive line, having excellent physicality, dominant in the air, a very good one-on-one defender, and fantastic on the ball in terms of driving out the defensive line or playing long switches of play. I think Marquinhos and Rudiger would make a very good centre-back pairing, but Zidane could also switch to a back three, with Kimpembe on the left, Rudiger on the right and Marquinhos centrally, and just overall I think Rudiger would significantly improve PSG's defence, particularly in big games. Rudiger would demand a signing on fee of around £15 million and wages of around £250,000 per week, but that shouldn't be a problem for PSG. Now we move on to the ball-winning midfielder spot, and the player I've gone for is Aurelien Tchouameni, who is Monaco's 22-year-old French defensive midfielder who has 2 years left on his contract come the summer and would likely cost around £40 million. He's one of the best ball-winning central midfielders in Europe already, up there alongside Casemiro and Fabinho. When we look at his FBref report we can see why. He ranks in the 88th percentile for tackles completed and the 99th percentile for interceptions, showing how good his reading of the game and tackling is. He'd be able to sit behind Verratti and another player who I will suggest PSG Sign, and play that Makelele or Casemiro role, sitting behind the play in possession, having the athleticism and pace to race over and put in a standing or sliding tackle to break up the opposition's counter-attack and regain possession for his side. However, he isn't just a ball winner as someone like Ndidi or Declan Rice are, he's also fairly press resistant, able to turn out of pressure and then drive forward with the ball, whilst also having a great range of passing as well, whether this is a switch of play or a clip pass over the top of the back line. And we see this as he ranks in the 69th percentile for progressive carries, the 77th for dribbles and the 80th for progressive passes as well. So Tchouameni is more than capable of adjusting his game and developing into a top level regista in the coming years. Ahead of Tchouameni, Verratti would fit in perfectly, but next to the Italian, Zidane would need more of an advanced playmaker who could push higher up the pitch, and the perfect man for the role is Paul Pogba, whose contract at Manchester United is up at the end of the season, and having just turned 29 he should be coming into his prime. Pogba is a unique central midfielder, having the physicality, ball carrying and chance creating ability that in combination is unmatched apart from maybe Luka Modric or Kevin De Bruyne. With Verratti and Tchouameni behind him, Pogba would be allowed to play the role of a roaming playmaker, being given the freedom to push further up the pitch where he can be a creative threat in the final third. Okay, so now we move on to the fun part, which is the front three. I'll start off with the forward and explain how the front three will function. So ideally up front it would be Erling Haaland, but I don't think that's going to happen. Another option would be Harry Kane. However, given the amount in other positions I'm spending, I don't think it's possible with FFP still around, and even though I think Benzema or Lewandowski would be good signings, I'm trying to bring in players to set up PSG for the next 2 to 4 years, so instead I've gone with RB Leipzig's Andre Silva. Now he isn't hitting the heights of last season at Leipzig so far, scoring just 7 non-penalty goals in 27 games in the Bundesliga. However, last season that number was 21 non-penalty goals in 32 games, as he finished as the league's second highest goal scorer behind Robert Lewandowski with a total of 28 league goals. But Silva isn't just a sole goal scorer, he's a very good forward outside of the box as well, having the ability to receive the ball to feet, lay it off to on-running attackers, and when I come onto my wide attackers you'll see how they suit the attack. I do see him developing into a deeper lying forward like Benzema, and I think his intricacy and first-time passes would make him the perfect focal point to PSG's attack. He'd likely cost between £45 and £50 million, having signed for £20 million last summer, and considering he's just 26, 27 in November, I think it would be a very good deal for PSG. Either side of Silva, I'd bring in his RB Leipzig teammate Christopher Nkunku, who'd cost around £60 million, and Serge Gnabry, who has just 1 year left on his Bayern Munich contract, who would probably cost around £50 to £60 million as well. Now, both Nkunku and Gnabry are quickly becoming two of the best attackers in world football. Nkunku is more of a second striker than a natural wide player, as he looks to move infield and either play passes in behind the back line for on-running teammates, or he looks to make those runs himself. And with Andre Silva dropping deep at Leipzig, Nkunku has thrived, being able to make those runs into the space created by Silva's movement and then get into goal scoring positions. His FB Ref report shows how good he's been in the last year, as when compared against every other forward in Europe's top 5 leagues, he ranks in the 92nd percentile for non-penalty goals with 0.59 per 90, from a non-penalty XG that ranks in the 68th percentile of 0.39 per 90, a massive overperformance of 0.20 goals per 90, showing how good a finisher Nkunku is when he gets into one-on-ones, has an aerial chance, or long or wide shooting positions. He also records an expected assist rate of 0.31, putting him in the 97th percentile, with his shot creating actions, progressive passes, progressive carries and dribbles all ranking in the 90th percentile as well. And all of this showcases his offensive ability, and even his defensive metrics are outstanding, with his tackles, interceptions and pressures all ranking extremely high, and so I think he'd fit in perfectly to an aggressive pressing system. Gnabry's FB Ref report is just as impressive as Nkunku's, massively overperforming his non-penalty XG as well, and ranks in the 90th percentile or higher for most of the offensive metrics, and he also ranks highly for tackles as well. Whereas Nkunku would drift infield into a second striker position, Gnabry would hold his width a lot more on the left, and this would allow Zidane's side to move to a 3-2-4-1 possession shape, with Mendes sitting deeper than Hakimi on the right side, pushing into a winger-like position as Nkunku drifts infield. Zidane could use a 2-3-5 with both fullbacks pushing forward, and the three central midfielders holding deeper positions as Gnabry and Nkunku push infield, playing as a narrow front three with Silva. Out of possession, PSG are going to be able to press high up the pitch with Silva, Gnabry and Nkunku, all fantastic pressers, and if you look at the alternative options of Sarabia, Icardi and Di Maria in that front three, Paredes, Wijnaldum, Danilo and Gay in midfield, and Cuadrado, Bernard, Diallo and Kimpembe as the defenders, I would say that PSG would now have a stronger, more versatile and tactically flexible squad overall than with Neymar, Messi and Mbappe. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when my videos come out. Check the description for more videos as well, and put your thoughts on PSG in the comments.